All right. Star Citizen Live question and answer session, crafting and base building has just completed on Twitch. We're watching it an hour after it started so I can pause because we know I'm going to pause in this one. Let's go.
Hello, everybody. We're back. Welcome to another episode of Star Citizen Live. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee.
I'm going to pause
a lot. If you've never seen Star Citizen Live before, lucky you. No, Star Citizen Live is where we take about an hour at the end of our week and invite our developers on to answer questions from you, the Star Citizen viewer, backer, supporter, player, all that good stuff. On today's show, we have some of my favorite people, the folks behind the crafting and base building systems that were debuted at this year's CitizenCon Crafting Your Home presentation. So without further ado, because we got a lot of meat to get to in this episode, let's introduce our guests, starting with, who wants to go first? Who are you and what do you do? Jacob.
Okay, looks like it's me. Yeah. Hi, I'm Jacob, senior gameplay programmer on crafting. I work on all kinds of gameplay systems, stuff like life support, salvage are probably the things I'm best known for.
Looting, brother, you were the first guy to show us looting.
Right. Who's next? Luke.
Hey. So, my name is Luke Gijsbertsen. I'm the lead environment artist on the EU locations team, and we are responsible for building the beautiful worlds that the beautiful gameplay systems from the other guys are you can play in.
Okay. He was the one who demoed the base building too.
Yeah, my name's Deck. I'm a system designer on base building crafting.
And Torsten.
Hi, I'm Torsten, lead systems designer for the core pillar gameplay system design team.
And what's that do?
Design systems.
Basically, that is pillars. Clearly.
It's no, it's the now we have the overarching system design team that is responsible for Squadron and Star Citizen.
Oh boy, he's gonna like this one. Torsten is in it. I'm gonna like it.
Citizen system design team, or system designs, and yeah, that's
everyone knows I have a man crush.
Position.
Good for you. All right. So as we are wont to do, we put up a Spectrum thread earlier this week to collect questions from our Star Citizens. People voted up which ones they wanted to see answered most. You four went through the thread and pulled the ones that were most applicable, that had answers that are in further stages of planning or ready to share with
in further stages of planning. The whole thing is in planning.
Folks today. So if you are wondering, as with every episode of Star Citizen Live, why your show or a specific, or why your show episode question, why your question was...
You know why your question didn't get answered? Because there wasn't enough time, because you had to explain why the question isn't getting answered.
Or whatnot. It's simply because we focus on the questions that have answers that are a little further along in the development cycle and stuff like this. It's because we want to make sure that the information we give you is as accurate and correct as possible, even though we all know the only constant in game development is change. So with that, we're going to jump right in. You picked a big one to start us off with, so we'll just jump.
Prepare for a lot of Jared splaining in this one. There should literally be zero. There should be zero. So that's not good.
Jump right into it. What can player bases be used for? How will base building integrate with other gameplay features such as mining and trading? Anyone?
Not all at once. Okay, I'll take this one first. Yeah, so this is a big one because we really believe that base building will enable us to really change the universe. The way that players will interact with one another or not want to interact with one another. And it will become, hopefully, more of the backbone of the game, where even if you want to interact with it or not, one way or another, you are always influenced by the gameplay loops of base building. So for an example, maybe you're just a small miner and you want to just mine your resources and kind of ship that out and make a nice living out of that. Then for you it might actually be good to have a small little base close by the mining resources to more efficiently do your gathering of your resources and so on. And the cool thing with base building is that we're trying to keep the possibilities as open as possible, so that you can actually choose what you want to do with your bases yourself. So maybe you have these weird bases just tucked away in the universe where it's just like there's no electricity, and you just use it to store away some of the stuff you found in the universe. Or maybe it is a more of a sprawling trading hub for you and your organization, or a
trading hub for you and your organization. I still want to know more about that.
base just built for the most efficient refining processes or such. Again, the guys know a little bit more about the specific processes, but from a visual perspective, what we're really trying to do is to just give you a beautiful base template that you then can let your imagination on loose and kind of use it the way you want to use it as a player, even though it might be very different than other players.
Yeah, so I guess from his perspective and how he's going to explain it, is it straight up, if you want a small base, you can have a small base. If you want a big base, you can have a big base. How anything works, he doesn't know.
Yeah, I think you really hit on it there. It's very much a base can be used for whatever you want to use it for. That will provide options for you to do all kinds of stuff with it. And there should be, or is likely to be, relevant links into pretty much any kind of gameplay that you can think of.
So we're
actually adding to that.
Go ahead.
Adding to that, it's like it's a growing feature in addition to what we have already, right? So every gameplay loop that we have will be also have its representation in the not every, but most of the gameplay features that we have will probably have a representation in the base building aspect, and the bigger our game grows, the more features are introduced, they will also find a slot in the base, in your base.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, even if you don't have your own base, it's still impactful because you'll be visiting the other people who've made their bases and using their facilities. So,
yes, that was something that I really needed to hear. Is just playing a lot of Eve. That is such a big deal. Am I allowing my base to be open to others, or am I allowing it to be closed off? If I can open it to others, can I let them use my stuff? Can I charge them to use my stuff? Can I work really hard to make a really good base that a lot of people want to use, but don't want to make themselves? Like, that kind of thing. And then, bam.
even if you're not doing the work, it's...
Is it quiet? It is on about as loud as I can put it, I think. Yeah, he's quiet.
Still an interesting thing for you to use.
So we're talking player housing, obviously, refining bases, fabrication bases for crafting, which we'll get into more today.
There's a 0% chance
hunting
Jared is
lodges
quiet.
for people who want to go out and take out the fauna and stuff. Logistics, you mentioned storage stuff. It's basically, and then it goes on and on and on. It's whatever folks want to use their bases for. There will be some way, shape, or form to support that in most cases.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Jared's almost
one of the
always
big
louder
questions
than
that
the
folks
guests.
had were, of course.
I think it's because usually when you ask somebody to do a mic check, they're initially loud, and then they start talking in their conversational voice, and it always gets lower. They have employees. I don't know why they're unable to put mics up. This usually happens even when they're in person, but it's a lot harder when you're in Teams, I can imagine. I don't know if you could turn their mic up very much or whatever. So.
On our journey to 4.0 right now, folks are watching the PTU for the next wave and release and the eventual publication of 4.0. The big question I saw probably most commonly after CitizenCon was, how does all this work with shards?
Yep.
Yeah, like if I place here and you want to place there, but we're on two different regions entirely, what happens? That's basically what they mean by shards, in case you're unfamiliar with that. A EU server 100 is a shard, and then there's maybe going to be 4 to 6 servers within inside of it, and yeah.
This is a big one indeed. I think I saw this asked 20 odd times.
Mm-hmm.
So the plan is that every base, every plot of land, every extraction pot will be visible across all the shards within a region. And then a lot of the functionality of the base will also be available across all the shards within a region. So if I make a base and I set up a shop, people on other shards can come visit and use my shop. The exception is going to be raiding and attacking a base. This can only occur on a single shard, and which shard that is dynamic based on the rule set. The easiest rule as always is the owner online, then the raid can only occur on that owner's shard. This means that if I'm on another shard and I rock up with a gun and I shoot the base, it'll prompt me, you'll have to change shard in order to attack this base.
That's so awkward. It makes sense, and I do not hate it. But as the person... Oh, they did not say no offline raids, Jazz. They said no offline raids that aren't on the shard that you created it on. So if I only play on US Server 100, you have to be on US Server 100 to offline raid me. If I am online, they can. That was the weird part. And then when I walk up to them and use a torpedo on it that cost 1 billion credits the way they are now, it's going to tell me, hey, by the way, sorry about that torpedo, but you can't attack this base. It's a little bit weird at the moment. That is very weird and awkward and weird.
Obviously,
Jared adds? All right.
We see this less and less, but the advantage of that is that you'll never be in this scenario where your shard, you're not able to defend your base. You'll always be able to defend your base in this scenario.
And if you're offline or there's a representation of your base in another shard, it's basically just a visual replica in those places.
Yeah, but people can also still use it, so the shops will still be functioning, that kind of thing. It's just when it comes to attacking, it all has to occur on a single shard.
Interesting.
Very interesting, because the system is huge, and if you come across a base, how often will you come across a base that you cannot raid if that's what you like doing? Might be awkward. It's just an awkward solution, but an understandable one given how complicated of a problem it is. And nobody likes offline raiding, and no one's gonna like standing in a base, seeing nobody around and then watching something get destroyed right next to you and be like, what just happened? I'm getting raided. I can't see them.
And I can already see half the comments already in response to that answer. There's still a road ahead between now and the release of base building and crafting. I promise.
Yeah, so having something that makes sense as a foundation is probably a good idea. This one doesn't entirely make sense, so that's the comments that people are going to make.
I promise you we will revisit this topic with more and more context on how that will work as Server Mission comes online and the technology continues to evolve. As with everything, there's a plan today. As the technology progresses, that may change or evolve over time, but that's the current implementation that we're working towards, and you can guarantee we'll be talking about it again between.
So the difference about this comment between now and maybe a few years ago is you got on stage and shared what 1.0 was going to be. You shared what your launch was going to be, which means that you should have an idea of exactly how your game's going to work. And when you communicate it, you should know how your game's going to work. And that's it. There should be very little deviation from what you say now versus what actually releases in 1.0 from this point forward. We all know that will not be the case because of the clown fiesta that is this company and what we've dealt with over the years. But that's how it should be. It's just not how it's going to be.
Now in the release. What will this look like in, so this is just a follow-up. So how will this look like in terms of offline raiding and base defenses? Is there any aspect of this, if I just don't log in, is my stuff just always safe? Is there some decay timer? Is there some danger? How do you get rid of old decrepit bases?
Decay timer is a good question.
Yeah, so if you are in the scenario where your base is in a lawless area and you haven't secured the planetary shield tech from the previous week's station warfare, then you are open to be raided whether you're online or offline. You can create your own defenses to deter that. You will be able to create your own shielding, which forces them into a ground assault, walls to delay the ground assault, turrets and such. And then it could be the case where they're raiding the base and they don't actually know what's available to loot. They don't know what's in your storage, so it would be wise to occasionally take your valuables out of the lawless area and haul them back to a more safer spot like Terra or Stanton. But if you find yourself open like that, you can be raided.
Okay. I like how these first questions are all about how do I destroy and pillage other people's bases.
No, they're literally how do I not get my base destroyed and pillaged, because getting offline raided is the single most annoying fucking experience from any multiplayer game that allows it. Everyone hates it. Nobody likes it. It's a shit experience. And honestly, how can it even be enjoyable by the people doing it that much? It's always looked at as a frowned upon thing, but some people enjoy it. It is what it is. But I don't think the majority of the people in the gaming community kind of like the idea of offline raiding. But man, it certainly happens.
Not about how do I live my life in these
punch
bases.
Of
how do these bases make my life better and more enjoyable? The first questions right off the bat are, how do I take it away from somebody else?
It's great. We spent so much love and work in order to make the most beautiful bases, and now we're talking all about just getting rid of it. Great.
Yep.
And that's, of course, like I said, the lawless systems like Pyro and stuff. Now, we did introduce, and you just mentioned the idea of planetary shields. What's our current plan for how those will work in high security systems versus low security systems?
Yeah, so the plan is with planetary shield tech that if you have it, your base is immune to attack, your stuff cannot be stolen, and there's actually 2 layers of shielding going on here. You have a air shield, which prevents bombardments, and then you also have, basically it hugs the building, so even if you go through the shield with a tank and try and shoot the building directly, it still won't take damage. So you really you're very, very, very safe when it comes to planetary shield tech.
Okay, and that's the same for...
Until we put the planetary shield tech in the game, and it's inevitably exploitable.
Or if I build it out in the fields of Hurston, or if I put it on somewhere in Pyro and I have the credits to maintain the shield.
Correct. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Will mining extractors and other processors automatically eject boxes, allowing anyone to just tractor them away? Or will we have...
Good question, because that's how they showed themselves in the initial 2023 version, and I don't think we ever saw the boxes in the 2024.
To eject them by hand.
All right, I'll take this one. But there's a few things here. So there's lots of different crafting machines that do their processes a little differently, but most of them will have an internal buffer that lets them hold the results of their process until you're ready to pick them up. That being said, you can also have them directly put stuff in boxes as soon as it's ready. But if you're worried about people nicking it, you don't need to be so concerned because they'll be subject to the same sort of permissions as anything else in your base. So that's like the mag lock that stops people stealing your chair will also stop them stealing your cargo boxes unless they...
I like the idea of the buffer. I also kind of like the idea of what he's saying about boxes, because it's maybe sounds like they're changing their tune about the current way we fill them. We'll see. But the main thing that I hope he brings up, and he hasn't yet, is, did you notice the freight elevators were magical at bases? Why can't I just set those to send to the freight elevator?
They have permission to move them. They'll be mag locked to the output grid.
If I can pull something up from a freight elevator over here, walk 8 kilometers and pull the same thing up from over there, I should be able to just send directly to the freight elevator from the mining extractor.
And we'll get into the maglocks here in a little bit.
Yeah. Also, there's going to be some machines.
Oh my God, Mike is psychic. I'm assuming they talk about it then. I'm not psychic. I'm just obsessed with this part of the discussions that they've had over the last year. obsessed. That's it.
That will be able to send their crafting results.
I didn't pre-watch. You were here with me.
Storage, whether that.
Sorry, we need to go back. Chat is being stupid. I apologize for anybody who's watching on YouTube.
Whether that be your hangar to the output grid.
And we'll get into the maglocks here in a little bit.
Yeah.
You pre-watched, I saw it. No, you didn't.
Going to be some machines that will be able to send their crafting results directly to your location storage.
Okay.
Whether that be your hangar or a freight elevator or something. So there'll be options.
Right. There was a mention, it says kind of like an.
So there'll be options, which means the more expensive one will go directly to your freight elevator, and the less expensive one you're going to have to move manually.
Underground transit system and stuff that allows certain buildings to connect with other buildings underground, even if you don't see them connected above ground.
Yeah. Freight elevator network.
Yeah. Hey, a mining question. Will underground deposits respawn over time, and how is the overall rarity of minerals accounted for in the economy?
Very excited.
Short answer, yes. So they will respawn, but it is very unlikely that they will respawn on the land plot that you already have. So if you already have a base, you already extracted it. Every mineral that was.
So every planet will have these amounts of minerals on them, these nodes of minerals, but they don't refill. Yeah, nice. Okay.
So your extractor, it's very unlikely that the deposit will respawn. So what we want to see there is players more moving around in their bases.
So your mining bases, your extracting bases are never going to be your static bases. You're going to be building those up in the most efficient and small ways. You're going to extract everything possible, and you're going to say, I'm out. See you later.
Basically going through to new locations and actually grabbing new resources. And to answer the economy part of that question, yes, that is a huge undertaking that we have to go through here. And that is we really have to get certain resources out of the system, and the system being our game. And that means that we, as the system design team and everyone working on that, we really have to work closely with the economy team and make sure that
and we as a community need to recognize that they are not going to get this right initially. And we have to just let them know, but not be too angry about it or not to be too upset. It's not going to be good at the start. It's not going to be good. They're doing a big one now in 4.0. It's probably not going to be good. We've already found an exploit that you can stay in the same station and sell something in a never-ending loop over and over and over again without ever leaving the station, right? Like, we've already found that in Pyro. Hopefully they fix it. They should know about it. If they don't, I don't know what to tell them. But the idea of it's not going to be good means it has to be good on 1.0. So this has to come out. This has to get plenty of time and work on it. Which station is it again? Checkmate? Chat knows. I'll see. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But yeah, I guess Luke is on the case. I think it's Checkmate. And it's I know it's scrap. I know
everything that we pull out of the system is meaningful, and then we create certain values for certain resources, because we really want to have like a player-driven economy, and we want to have a healthy in-game economy that is driven by our game. And it's a challenge, but we are definitely motivated.
I'll find it for you, Luke. Nobody's saying anything.
Like in a really good state.
So what?
Go ahead.
What you're talking about there is like the concept of resource sources and sinks, because having your extractor on your base is a source of resources until it's depleted, but then we need to make sure that there's also sinks for that resource in various gameplay loops, so that you don't just have inflation essentially of just a build up of resources you can't do anything with. So yeah, that'll be a very careful balancing act.
Yeah. In Torsten's answer, you mentioned something that I think maybe not a lot of folks have considered, this idea of having multiple or mobile bases. Obviously, folks with the land claims, and we'll talk about the land claims in a bit. You build your home. You might stake out your home. This is where I store my stuff and I decorate and all that stuff. But for industrial purposes, while you could certainly build that location up, then go out, gather stuff, bring it back, there is a gameplay style where you then instead create smaller mobile bases and move them around as you need stuff like this.
Yeah. So you can still have your static home base with your first extractor, but at some point your deposit just runs empty, and that you can still leave the extractor there if you like the look of it, but then if you still like the area.
Exactly. So in HiSec, you're probably going to be building, where you do your trading or where you do your crafting or you do certain things, but where you gather resources, it sounds like you got to go to Pyro.
And you don't want to move away, you can just disassemble the extractor and then decide to, okay, let's buy.
That also confirms that disassembling will probably be a thing, and then reassembling, hopefully.
A new plot, or let's move to a new plot and actually find another resource there. So, yeah.
I think that leads into
if you
our
want
next.
To stay.
I think that leads into our next question really well. Can we deconstruct buildings, and how is this done?
Okay.
Yes, you can destruct.
But do I get the building back? Do I get just the resources back, and then I have to go through the process again? Again, I did not pre-watch this. I have all the same questions and all those things. So that's what we're asking.
So there it is, you would construct it. There's the construction AR mode. So you will make use of the drones. The drones then will disassemble the building, and if you have a freight elevator, they will automatically put the material that they gather from the disassembling process.
Will that material be a percentage less than the material it takes to craft it?
Onto the freight elevator. You will get some of the material back that you invested in building, but we will because it's just
the time sink. The resource sink. I like it personally.
It's a gameplay mechanic, but it also makes sense, right? In the disassembling process, you will not get one-to-one what you invested. There is a loss of material in there.
Every video game economy in the world has to have sinks, resource sinks.
Yep. I like it.
My worry is that, like IKEA furniture, once you take that thing apart, does it go back together?
It does not. I pre-watched. It does not.
The same way? Or will it function worse?
You can only put it together once.
So we've talked a lot about base building.
I guess actually the beauty of that is that it doesn't have to go back the same way. Once you take it apart, you can use those materials to make something else out of it. Once your extractor's dried up, make something else instead.
Very true.
Fair enough. So let's talk about making stuff. We've done a lot of base building stuff here. Let's do some.
When I took my IKEA bed apart and I moved into this house, it never felt the same.
Crafting. How does crafting change existing gathering methods such as mining and salvage?
That is a bigger topic because
it's a bigger topic. I hope he talks. We're about halfway through the video. I hope he talks on this for the rest of the video.
Yeah. So the TLDR, or the short version, is the mining that we have right now will change more drastically again.
What?
And we will revisit other gathering methods that we have. We have mining, we have salvage, and salvage will also get a nice little treat. But let's start with mining.
Salvage will get a nice little treat. God, he is I love him. He's the worst though, because he is the best developer for this. He says nothing that he shouldn't say. No. This is the one guy that you should trust. Never trust DJ or Elliot, but specifically DJ. but he is really, really good about this. He will not tell you anything that they don't already like feel that they're like 100% confirmed, and he tells me nothing.
So on the mining side,
I love him for that. I told him never tell me anything because all the stuff you make, I never want to be spoiled for it. I want to be excited for it. I'm about to have that moment right now. Here we go.
We basically have to, because of the quality that we add to the minables that you will now find.
It's the quality thing.
We talked about that, and we considered that, okay, with the mining system right now where we have multiple resources per rock, that doesn't make any sense because you might want to look for quality instead of finding like a specific resource. So we want to make it easier for the player to actually look for the specific resources they need for the crafting processes. So we will basically split up or we break out the randomness in the minables that we currently have, but have bespoke minables. So we will find the copper rock, the iron rock, the
titanium
rock. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the titanium rock, and because what you're looking for is a better quality there.
I don't know if he's going to say this, but this gives them the opportunity to do something really cool too, is really tweak the values of what titanium it's oh my god, now I'm just like Torsten, I'm drawing a blank. Instability and resistance values and explosion values and all those things. They can make them a lot more unique and different from each other because they have to now. Whereas like one would apply and the other one would apply. Let me tell you something. I love the idea of not having to make a mining guide that has to explain to someone that even though you're looking for the highest value item, the most important item that you're looking for in the rock is the lowest value one. And for those that know, and for those that don't know, I am glad you never have to. And that's all I'll say.
You will still look for like the titanium rock that basically fits, like has the perfect quality, but you don't have to look for a rock that contains titanium anymore.
Interesting.
And here,
I mean, I hope they kind of do the things like Eve, where I don't know. There's a lot of asteroid fields in Pyro. I hope it's the asteroid field that contains gold, titanium, and something else, and that's it. You know, or maybe like 6 different items. So you're going to that spot to specifically farm those specific things, and then the opposite side of that is the pirates know that those specific things are in that specific spot. And they know the miners love those things. And they eat them up. And they chew them up every day. And then you have conflict.
We also want to emphasize, or we want to utilize the new planet tag that was also talked about at CitizenCon.
Okay.
Where we want to make use of the biomes that we get through those, and then have like more meaningfully placed minerals on the planet. So you will find
gold is always in the jungle, right? Like that kind of thing.
Certain materials more likely at a riverside or in a certain biome versus in other biomes. So we are really looking forward to get more control over that. So yeah, we are internally quite excited about that. And yeah.
I will say I can only speak for me, are externally quite excited for that. Does this mean we finally get the Aaron Halo? That would be tough. I think this is the thing that kills it, right? This is the thing that probably kills it a little bit.
And additionally on the mining, so we now talked about like the minerals themselves, we will also be more concrete on the minables that you find based on the profession that you picked. So if you are a ship miner, you will find ship mining deposits. If you are an FPS miner, you will only find FPS minables. And if you are a ground vehicle miner, you will find ground vehicle resources.
Okay, he's saying this very weirdly. Is DJ here? Because I know he works on this aspect of the game. Arena Commander. Hello. Can we get DJ to appear. I don't know. Maybe not. I think he's talking about radar. I think he's talking about radar, where you can apply a specific radar to what you're looking at, because they had said it in a monthly report and it sounded like that. But yeah, I don't know.
Sources. And if you want to use your ground extraction tool in your base, you will find specific materials there. So what I'm saying here is that we don't have the shared minerals anymore that we currently have between FPS and ground vehicle mining. We will have the hard cuts. So
yeah, he's 100% talking about scanning, right? 100%.
So everything you will find FPS mining, you will only find in FPS mining. Everything ground vehicle mining, only there. Only ship mining, only there.
Because you're in a ship when you're looking for ground vehicle mining. So you would find prospector. I think he's talking about radar.
So we will have a clearer separation so that we can actually encourage the different gameplay loops a bit more effectively.
Yeah.
It's a really weird one. I will shoot him a DM and see if we can get clarification on it. But I'm 99% sure he's talking about radar and not anything else. Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that. That it'll mean that whichever kind of mining profession you choose to do, you'll have some valuable, unique materials that you can only get with that profession.
And that too, which is what we kind of currently have, right? Is ship mining has their unique materials. Now, I think that what they're saying is that there might be new hand minables that are separate from ship vehicle minables as well. You can apply that part of the conversation to that as well, right?
It's going to be a lot more different materials as well.
Yeah. I'm going to go with what Omega 6 is saying, but they also mentioned radars being unique. So I don't know. Maybe it's both. Why not both?
Yeah, the amount of materials that we will have is...
It's a lot. We've seen it already.
And you'll be sure that between ISC and SCL, we'll definitely cover that in the future. I really like everything you just said, and it all sounds great. I like this idea of
I'm uploading this to YouTube.
Moving them to the biomes
and
making them biome specific and stuff, because while scanning will always be a part of the Star Citizen experience, and that will continue to evolve and get better. This idea that someone who is experienced and someone who is knowledgeable can just, fly over, do low flying, over the surface of a planet and use it to be like, okay, no, that's an area I'm looking for where titanium is, and I know titanium spawns in areas that look like this, and easily spot.
Not even low flying, Jared. One of the coolest things about the star map update is you could actually look at the map in the star map and recognize the biomes from that. It's pretty awesome. DJ's here. So Torsten just kind of said something weird, and I thought it applied to what you do, but maybe I'm a little off base. And I don't think you could speak much on it, even though it was mentioned in a monthly report. So I wanted to ask you, DJ. Torsten said that something along the lines, if you want to find prospector or ship minables, you'll find only ship minables. If you want to find vehicle minables, you'll only find vehicle minables. If you want to find hand minables, you only find hand minables. We're starting to think that means that there'll be unique items for those professions, so that's not really your cup of tea, I don't think. I was thinking that he was talking about radars, and I didn't know if you could speak on, are there specific radars for each of those things, or I don't know. So feel free to answer if you can, or just put a gnome if you can.
That and stuff like this. It's low flying can evolve to being surveying, manner of speaking. But for the people who are,
it also easier to find the minerals, right? Yeah. Right now you are
But he would put a gnome even if he could.
Little shout out to Red Monster, but you use mining guides online, for example, to know exactly where you have to go to actually find what you are looking for.
Oh my God. That's so true. Me and Red had a conversation this past week. He was like, hey, I was in 4.0. I was data mining, and I was trying to find all the information that I have previously been making. ! Mining in chat if you guys want the links for Red Monster's guides for the current guides, because they're amazing. They will not work in Pyro. They will not work in 4.0 because they have taken all that information off of the client and moved it to the server. We can no longer find the percentages of what spawns where and how much or anything. That is gone. All the hard work he put in, they have ripped that out from under us, and it felt really crappy. But it's for a good reason, and it makes sense. Luke says Economy think they have fixed the shop you're talking about. Let me know if it is the case in the next build. I'll take a peek. Yeah, I'll try to find that out.
With this, we want to make it more accessible, that it's logical where you find certain things, and then it's also clearer in the sense of, because it's just one thing that you will find there, right? So hopefully that, or like, our goal is to make it more accessible, and not that, like, accessible in the sense of people that are new to the game are also more attracted to the gameplay loop, but we still want to keep the expert gameplay to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Easy to learn, difficult to master.
Yeah, yes. There's the thing that I mentioned at the beginning, that Salvage will get also a little revisit, and something that I'm really happy and excited.
It needs more than a little revisit. Let's hear this.
To tell you is we will have some time to revisit it, and what we will do there is, I think, something that a lot of people already expected or for the initial release, and that is in regards to the construction material that you actually get from munching from
structural salvage.
From
it's munching
salvage. Thank you. That basically the ships are made out of certain components, and once.
Have I not been saying this for weeks? This is all I do in EVE, guys. This is all I do in EVE. They're literally made EVE salvaging.
You basically gather them through that. You will have those materials, and then there will be processes to separate them, but this is something that is still being decided of what way we want to go down there.
Yeah, the thing
should I log into EVE and show you so people who don't know can know? I might actually show on stream.
Really like about this is that it ties it into
just real quick
the dismantle side of crafting. That if you dismantle something, you'll get back some of what it's made of. Same thing with salvage. Your ship just kind of becomes a portable dismantling fabricator.
It really depends on how they do it.
That's very cool, and you're right. That is something that's been asked for some time. This idea that if I'm looking for, if I'm trying to craft my own spacecraft, and I need hulls, I need materials, for the hull, I can go and do hull scraping and gather some of the materials that I need for that. And it's thematically similar.
Okay, EVE does it in a really goofy way though. I made a bunch of money today. EVE does it in a really goofy way, but I think I like the way that they're talking about it in Star Citizen a little bit more. The way it works in EVE is really simple. A ship explodes. There's just like this picture of a wreck, and you go up to it and you literally click a button and you salvage it, and it does like a, did you fail or did you succeed? If you succeed, you get some salvage components back. If you fail, it just goes again until you succeed. So it's just like a time-gated thing. Not talking about that. We're specifically talking about only one thing, and that one thing is what the components are. So they're right above me at the top here. Not all of them. These are actually minables, and I don't have a lot of them. Oh, why did that pop up? So contaminated nanite compound is one thing. Armor plates are another. Enhanced ward. I think these are kind of going to make more sense to you. Like circuit boards, broken drones, a little piece of armor, logic. This is a higher level of salvage. It's like things like that just show that like there's little pieces of the puzzle that actually make ships that aren't just raw materials. So that's kind of why I'm excited, is like, look, an I-beam, that's construction material, right? But it's like there are 40 to 50 unique different items, and then what they do is that they'll just straight up say, okay, well, if you want to make certain things, then you make these out of, like, the way Eve does it is this specific item, a medium core defense, operational solid fighter, blueprint, or whatever, will make that actual item, okay? And every single item that uses salvage uses 3 of them, and that's it. And they just make a special thing called rigs. So salvage is this, like, really restricted, simple crafting concept in Eve, whereas it sounds like it's going to be, if I salvage a ship, if I salvage I get it's more of like a reprocessing thing in Star Citizen. So it's a little bit different, but I really do hope that when you do salvage ships, that you get pieces of those ships back that make sense, like screen panels, or a glass, or a chair, things like that you actually use to make these spaceships and stuff. I don't know. That's my preference. That's what it sounds like they're doing, which makes me really excited because I really, really, really love that style of gameplay in Eve. I find it to be so enjoyable. And it's because it's simple, doesn't take a lot of time, but it has just enough depth to be super, super fun.
Yeah, but as an additional note, there will be some materials that you won't get back. So, like in the crafting process, right? So you will use some materials in the crafting process that are, like, let's say, volatile, or like in some way exclusive. So if you would then structural salvage your recently crafted vehicle, you might get some of the material not back at all. Like, if, for
Are you the Pedro?
example, bad example, but for an example, if you used antimatter in the crafting process, you won't get that back. You will just get back aluminum or copper and stuff like that, but those exclusive materials you won't get back in the reverse process of crafting.
Okay, cool.
Gotcha. I'm just happy I got you to say munching again. While we're still in crafting here, will there be limited use blueprints?
Yes. In short, yes. We're going to be supporting both finite use blueprints. So, like, you get it, you can only use it N times. And then also blueprints that have a cooldown in between uses. So you can only use it, periodically. It's just to give us some extra ways to balance and limit certain things, but we're not giving any examples of that.
Yeah, and they're not going to get it right the first time anyway.
I was there.
The idea that counts.
On a Hazy server in Star Wars Galaxies when it launched, cornering the market on Krat Dragon Pearls and just ripping out so many items, so many weapons and stuff, so many armors, to corner the market before anybody else could catch up. So it's nice to know that there are going to be limits on some of the more interesting things.
Yeah, but not just for that. It gives you the opportunity. It just adds more depth. It's good. It's good. It's not just to limit things.
Can you trade blueprints?
Did Pedro said yet?
Yes and no. So we mentioned.
Oh, he said it was your. No, that's a Jared thing, not a you thing. So Pedro's here from yesterday's ISC, and he said you were right. It's not my call, but I always credit people. I actually credit everyone in CitizenCon. Also, when I won the HMMA award in 2022. Yep, and you're Pedro. You're the man. You'll always be the man. Also, my father's Portuguese, so we appreciate you. And my grandfather's Portuguese and thinks everything from Portugal. My grandfather, he passed away, but he thought everything from Portugal was the best thing ever. So I told him about you, and he was a big fan. So yeah. I got to give you VIP. I just, like everyone, I have to confirm that he's actually a dev somehow, but it'll be weird with Pedro. So I'm just gonna give him VIP, and we'll hope that I'm not wrong on this one.
At SitCon that the blueprints are awarded to your character, essentially, to your character's virtual blueprint library. So if you get directly credited a blueprint from a mission or a reputation reward or something, then it's bound to your character. You can't trade it.
There we go.
But there will be some gameplay where you find blueprints on a data pad, and that data pad can be traded before you read the data off it. Once it's been downloaded, though,
do I look Portuguese?
It's gone. It's a one-time download, essentially. So if you've already found this blueprint
True.
And you find another blueprint of it in a loot crate somewhere, you can give it to your friend. But once they've downloaded it, the data pad is dead.
Okay. And eventually, when we have a more robust trading system, I can see that being a hot commodity on whatever our version of an auction house will be.
Oh yeah.
Can we use stolen materials to craft?
Absolutely. The crafter doesn't care about the legality of anything. I mean,
then why do we have the system of the entire rest of the game that cares? If the crafting table doesn't care, then the game shouldn't care. Get it out.
Pedro is the man. Can't wait till we can stream Star Citizen album instead of bits and pieces from YouTube.
In heck, you can probably steal.
We need a Star Citizen album. That's very true.
An item, dismantle it into parts, and make a whole new thing out of it. So,
seems like a good way to get rid of the evidence.
Yeah, yes. Actually, that is the recommended loop if you steal an item, right? So because items have an ownership associated to them.
Why do commodities have an ownership? That's my only issue here, guys. Actual items, ships, things like that, okay, that's different. But the way we currently deal with it now, like, again, it breaks the game in so many ways. And I'm not even talking about, like, the piracy aspect. If I set my item as stolen, that's different, right? Because people will cry, no. If I say it's stolen, that's fine. But when I'm playing with my friends, there is no part of the game that says, I give you permission to use this outside of being in a party. But when I leave the party, what happens? It's stolen. It just instantly is stolen. And there's no way for me to differentiate what is whose and who is owned by what. It's too overcomplicated. There's too many moving parts for a simple thing that should just be owned by no one unless it's in your inventory. I don't know, guys. We've all played video games before. This isn't that crazy. It doesn't need to be that crazy, but it is. And it just breaks so many normal little gameplay loops that you would play with your friends. And it's just annoying.
And either you somehow get rid of the ownership marking and replace it, or you go the easy way and just disassemble it and craft the item yourself, because you don't have to hunt down the material.
Once again, I'm okay with like a quantum drive being owned, but again, raw materials a little bit weird.
Or not as much materials, because again, not the 1-to-1 ratio if you disassemble.
Okay.
But I do like the idea of nicking someone's entire spaceship and deconstructing it and then making some other ship out of it.
Yeah. Luke, we'll go back to base building for a bit. How customizable will these things be in terms of materials, colors, shapes?
Yeah,
hopefully very customizable, and hopefully all on the pledge store. You may not like to hear that, but if we can get away from selling ships more and more and more and get to just cosmetics and things that don't affect the actual gameplay, I would melt nearly all the ships I have and just spend it all on cosmetics.
Because earlier, we really want to make sure that players are able to kind of make the base their own, and to also use the base for whatever new systems or the
I wouldn't melt
anything that we
anything.
have out there in game.
Let me be honest, I wouldn't melt anything because Star Citizen's very pay to win in that aspect, I still think. And if everyone else has an advantage, why shouldn't I? But I have not put any new money into the game, I don't think, outside of a subscription since 2017, 2018. I would put new money into the game if that was the case. 100%, and probably a decent amount.
Gameplay loops, right? So, for an example, a Hunter's Lodge, you might want to tint it in a specific way with the buildings and so on, so that it blends nicely into the environment, so that it doesn't stand out or get any attention of other bypassers flying by. where if you're building more of a trading hub, we want you to be able to kind of again, tint the buildings, maybe put logos on the sides, and really kind of advertise like, oh, this is my location, come here, trade, and yeah, really have different ways of integrated. We have a lot of beautiful planets that have very different biomes and colors and structures, and we just want to make sure that we are providing a nice palette of different tints and customizables to kind of make it fit within every biome, every planet where you want to build your base.
Tints.
Something that we showed in base building as well, that a lot of people caught up on, is that a majority or a large portion of the buildings will also be able to be connected one another. So we're looking at we have generic buildings, and then the player can decide what they want to do within that building or how they want to tint it, and then those can be connected to corridors and other buildings and linked together, or to a hangar, and you can build your own little infrastructure with that.
I mean, they kind of have to do that with the fact that like a lot of planets don't have atmosphere or whatever.
Well, I think it's really we're really excited to kind of see what players are going to do with those options.
And I know this first version of base building we're talking about uses what we refer to as the high-tech aesthetic. This next question is looking way out, but we'll ask it. Will there be different styles of structure in the future? They give examples like a shanty town or even...
Sell them. Not all of them. Sell them. Sell the styles. Sell them, baby. Sell.
And alien-influenced buildings.
Yeah, so there's indeed, with the introduction of base building, there's a lot of possibilities out there for us. For now, we're very focused on establishing this high-tech visual very well. We want to.
I'm pledging.
We have a specific set in mind in which we want to release with. After that, like we've always already, or Declan discussed in his presentation in CitizenCon and already hinted at, is that there is more functionality to come that we also want to look at, like, for example, ranching and trading and so on. And after that, it's really going to be a question about what kind of, do we want to expand the current high-tech set with new functionality, or do we want to start building a new set with...
So Mike wants Fortnite skins in Star Citizen. I've seen this guy bring up Fortnite like 3 times already. I just explained it, but if I need to get through the very dense and thick skulls, I will. I'll explain it for a second time. I don't want or care. I want what you want to know what I want? I want a subscription model where you just play the game and everything is in the game. That's what I want. But I'm also a realistic human being and understand that games cost a lot of money. These guys need to get paid, and so do the owners of the company that want to get paid as well, right? And in a real world, that company is trying to make a little bit of money. We also want to play a really good game. And what I see right now is going against what a really good game would be. And that's $100 million a year ain't enough for cheddar. It's not enough money to make 2 games at once with 1,300 people. So they need to get these games out, obviously get smaller, more concise, and just what most MMOs would end up doing, like big push to get the games out, and then, you know, have teams that maintain them and build new content within that. But the idea that I want, and that I also, you know, don't think is possible, I think I got to be realistic and know that games are incredibly expensive and these guys need to make some money. So can they make exceptions to do less ship sales? I'm willing to make the exception and say, sell all the cosmetics that I would have happily earned in game, right? And then it's probably gonna have to be, they're probably just gonna do both. Let's be real. But if they can get away from the ship sales that affect the actual game, yeah, I'd rather pay to skin than pay to win.
The new aesthetic.
That's it.
But that is something that will. We first want to see how players are going to react to the initial set, and then from there we'll make informed decisions based on the players' reactions.
Good idea.
To hear it. We mentioned the mag locking at CitizenCon and earlier today, so I want to get to this. I've seen a lot of questions, and you've got one here. How will we be able to decorate our homes in a way that there isn't physics jank just all over the place?
Yeah, that's
Lock them down.
Yeah, I understand where the question comes from. So one of the options that we will have with decorative ER, the mode in which you get to decorate your place, is that you'll be able to
Sorry for pausing here, guys, but I feel like I have to answer this one. Is there a currency only for Star Citizen store purchases? Not at the moment. Kind of. You can buy UEC, which will be the in-game currency when the game releases. Right now we have alpha UEC, to just so people know that, hey, we reserve the right to wipe things significantly. Yeah, the other currency is USD, where you just buy spaceships for real money. But there is no premium currency, to answer your question at this time. I play Eve, and I like the idea of ISK, and I don't hate the idea of ISK and Plex, so it could work. But yeah, I'd rather them not do that.
And mag lock your furniture into place, and therefore only you or certain people with the right credentials are allowed to move the position of that object. In the future, there will be ways to disable the mag lock, I believe, but I'll have to look at Declan about this.
Depend on security and
out in the future.
Yeah, it sounds like that's
again, for the initial release, we were still focusing on just letting you build your bases, and then in a future patch, we're gonna
thank you.
We will start to really go into like PvP and
Watchdog. Thank you as well.
The
5-star. Thank you.
Discussion will definitely be addressed there as well. For now, we just want to make sure that people get to create their bases, and that they have a possibility to just have a little bit of a safeguard with the beautiful things that they've collected over the universe and how they want to put them down. And one of the
will this come to our hangars as well? Right? Not just bases. Will this come to our hangars? Will this come to our ships? Hello?
IDs that we were also playing with, and we'll hope that maybe some players are daring enough to try it out, is perhaps have a ship trading base, and where you have your specific showroom ships there or something. But you need to be daring that they're not getting nicked, I guess. Or, again, stuff for the future as well.
I'm sure there'll also maglock boxes together to make the ugliest structures that we've ever seen before, so we can look forward to that.
Declan, don't give them any IDs. We made beautiful art for it.
Oh my god, the artist is like, no, they're gonna ruin all my hard work. It was over before you ever started, brother.
To give people ideas, I already know what the first base build is going to look like.
I love that he just totally baited everybody into fucking making a base built dick and posted on Reddit. He literally just told everybody to make a base that looks like this.
I can't say it.
I am sure it will be the most magnificent base ever built. I have high trust in the community.
And in case anybody's new to video games, the acronym is called TTP.
Yep.
And we'll see how long that is. It's my last show of the year, right? Yeah, it is. Can you work together to create a base? Can you work together to create a base?
Last show of the year?
Or can you charge a fee for using a base's services?
What? Oh, this was my question.
Yes. Again, we're trying to make it very dynamic and open so that different bases can cater to different players and different player experiences. So you'll be...
What was it? Okay, I'll replay it because it seems like not everybody heard.
It's my last show of the year, right? Yeah, it is. Can you work together to create a base? Can you work together to create a base? Or can you charge a fee for using a base's services?
Think about repair. Hey, repair, refuel, rearm. I can make a base that literally does that for you. And you don't have to go to a station or something, right? that might be camped a lot. You can have, I got my little rest stop out there that's only for my org mates or whatever, right? A rest and relax space, but only for the people that I allow to use it.
Yes.
Staging for your org.
Again, we're trying to make it very dynamic and open so that different bases can cater to different players and different player experiences. So you'll be able to build small bases and maybe even slightly larger bases, but it might take a while by yourself. And then, of course, you can just team up and you can, together with a friend, really quickly build a smaller base or really start to try to literally take things to the moon in the future. But you'll be able to build larger structures. Will be recommended to do that in groups.
I think I saw some people discussing whether they would be able to sell services on their base, though.
They will.
I think that'll be pretty cool that you can build up some infrastructure and have people pay to use it.
Like what?
Okay, when you say sell services, my mind went to a different place. What are you talking about?
What's with the penis
I'm talking
jokes
about,
today?
I've built some really high-tier crafting machines, and I'm just going to let people come to my base and craft stuff with the best machines.
Yeah, that's definitely what I was thinking.
Price.
It's definitely
What were you thinking?
I'm thinking let's move to the next question.
I'm just very excited to just like I used to be a little bit of a miner myself, and I can't wait for people just to kind of figure out like, oh, I got my little base here. I'm mining my own resources, and now I'm gonna start shipping it to like Declan's base, his base is all about refining, for example.
Yeah, baby.
And I go and I use his services there, and I get my valuables refined, and then I'll sell it at Jake.
But what if Declan raises his prices? Then we go to Thorsten's base.
Who is building his base, and then over the weeks and months that I'm playing my loop and doing
then
my
we
adventures,
kill Declan.
I
Yeah.
can actually see Jacob's
In-game.
base expanding, and I can see how my
Some
involvement
weirdos
has a tangible impact in the universe.
Very
You've
cool.
also made some money, which is quite good.
True.
And maybe even made some friends.
These guys, they're okay. The hopium and copium tanks were nearly empty. This conversation, they're not full by any means, but they are filling up.
New people by selling them stuff.
But then when we remember that at the beginning they were like, yeah, really far off, yeah, they're gonna empty very quickly by March of next year.
Next question.
Fuck it. January.
Can you spawn in your base or group bedlog? Group bedlog.
I love how group bedlog is like, what?
Now we're back to the services I was thinking about.
Oh, he's making a joke. Never mind.
Yes. But so you need the proper
What
building
is this
for that.
show?
So right now the intention is that if you have a med bed or if you have an hospital area in your base, you can use the imprint system there and then use this as your gathering point as the group.
What about ships though? The whole logging system is fucked. But this is for Chad McKinney, I think, not for this group, most likely.
Okay, Declan.
Hello.
Sit up. Okay. Yeah, bases in caves or asteroids?
I would like to apologize to all the goblins out there, but it's not on the roadmap right now.
Okay, cool.
We had to get to at least one question where it wasn't something we were doing. Let's see. Can we start a build using our drones from something like the Starlancer, then leave?
That's
an
interesting question.
Yes, answer. Yes, you can. So
hopefully, I think they said this stuff was going to take a really long time.
Once you set the building in motion, you can go on, carry on, log off, and the drone will basically do its job, and while you're offline. And if the build finishes, the drone will then try to get back to its host or its mothership. And if the mothership or the host is not around anymore, it will self-destruct. And you need to get a new drone afterwards, but you will get a replacement by, if you used your Starlancer, for example, by simply repairing the Starlancer and then you.
We'll be retiring when this comes out. That guy's 22, by the way. That just said that in chat. So what does that say for me?
Get it replaced by this process.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question here because I'm thinking about this. Obviously, either with the time it takes to build a base is not going to be instantaneous, and we're not going to talk about the time now. That'll be a thing that's determined over play testing and further development and stuff. But in that time, with your drones swirling around or whatever,
what
happens when people try to park their Idris?
Is this the holiday live stream? What's going on here? Why?
Right where you're trying to build a base, like you've started. It was a flat parcel of land. You've started the process. It was yours, and then you started it. You've set your drones, like you said. You've logged out, and 5 minutes after you log out, somebody parks their Idris there.
So there is still, in short, that's not going to be possible because there's, I think we mentioned it briefly in the sitcom presentation that it's a physicalized hologram. That the intended place of a building will be physically
seen by everyone.
Barriered. I don't know if you want to call it a force field or something, but just you can't park there because it's under construction.
Gotcha.
Yep,
okay, cool. Good question. Good answer.
I think I missed that. Let's go all the way to the end here. Where can space stations be built? And will there be smaller scale stations for smaller groups?
Oh, two really good questions.
There isn't plans at the moment for small scale space stations, and there will be some limitations on where you can build a space station, but you're not limited to just in orbit around a planet. You can build it way out in the depths of space and have it well hidden for whatever you want to hide it for.
That's interesting. I don't know if I like it. I don't know what to think about space stations because they are so ridiculous that I'm not sure how I feel about them yet. But just in general. But the freedom of it, it's hard to say that's bad. Right? Freedom's good.
So largely anywhere, but there will be limitations.
Yeah, I want to clarify. When he says that there are no plans for a smaller scale station, he's talking about the physicality of it right now. It's like we're building towards our first physical space stations, and those are the ones we're building to. As far as how many people it will take to build that one size space station and expand and stuff, that
the answer is one, because someone will do it. But yeah,
is also a thing. We have ideas, we have plans, we have intentions right now, but these are things that will continue to evolve as we get closer to the actual implementation of this feature. It's one of those things where, and if you've watched Star Citizen Live, ISC, listened to any of these developer interviews for any amount of time, this is one of the only constants besides change, and that's that we have to remain open to better ideas, more ideas, different ideas.
This is he says this every time now, and this is one of the, I can't stand this one. This is, we reserve the right to never stick to anything and continue to add power and scope creep and be Chris Roberts' little fun toy that he just, ruins every single year by adding more to it.
Different discoveries about what the tech will allow us and stuff like this. What's actually fun? We may have this idea that it takes this much, then we find out, well, this is actually where it's fun and stuff. So as far when you say that there's no plans for a smaller space station, that is a physicality thing and not a comment on the amount of people necessary to build one. That is something that's going to be developed through a whole bunch of testing with you guys.
Yep, and they won't get it right the first time, once again.
Let's move on.
And that's okay.
If you pledge for a ship, will you receive a blueprint to craft it?
If you buy a car from the dealer, can you make more? No, you cannot.
Then why are you doing it for armor? What? Okay. What is this? What is this? Oh, because you could claim the ship, right? Thank you, Pedro. And you're so kind, and I appreciate you, too, and everything you do.
Pledging a ship does not give you the blueprint to craft it. You got to earn that like everybody else. But it gives you the ship, and you can use the ship. Like I said at SitCon, though, once you've got a ship, however you got it, whether you pledged for it or got it in game or nicked it or something, you will be able to upgrade it. So even though you can't craft directly, make a brand new high tier ship, you can upgrade the one that you pledged for in-game materials. And
what happens when you
research and all that? But yeah, you'll be able to do that to ensure your vehicle has the best stats that you want for it.
Okay. And you just butted up against one of the other big questions.
The next question is the one that actually matters. Okay. The blueprint system on what we get back and with sub items and all that stuff, they are so beyond lost and confused on what to do here. I think it's probably just going to be ever changing, and they'll figure it out eventually. The fact that you don't get the blueprint is a good thing. I'm just confused because they said if you pledge for something as far as like a piece of armor on the store, you would get a blueprint. So I'm like, what's it going to be? You know, like this $5 thing I get a blueprint for, but this $500 thing I don't. That's a little confusing, right? But yeah, they just got to come up with a system that makes sense. And yeah, maybe they're still in discussions with it and not 100% on it. A
lot of folks had after that presentation. WTF, the upgrade system. How does this work? What are tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Is it the same thing for every ship? Is it
How are people confused by the upgrade system?
Different for every ship?
They were so clear.
Is it customizable, like I seem to think you just hinted at there? How are we expecting this tier system to work? Keeping in mind, there's still lots of development.
Torsten is like, as I said in the show,
between now and its implementation.
Yes, absolutely. But I'll talk about the current plans. So first of all, there's different kinds of blueprint, and most of them will be upgradable through research. Different kinds of blueprint will get different benefits from researching them. So like a refining blueprint will get more efficient. So you get a better yield of refined goods for raw input.
Okay, what does a Gladius blueprint get when you upgrade it?
Or like a repair blueprint might be able to repair a little bit more effectively, stuff like that.
A repair blueprint, okay.
But the one that everyone's probably asking about is the creation blueprint, which lets you make new stuff.
Okay.
And a higher tier one of those will let you craft the higher tier of the relevant item.
Okay.
So let's say
this is not confusing at all. All right. I can probably help you. They're using the word blueprint and replacing it. They're replacing the word job with blueprint, almost. Like, except for the fact that you physically need to have collected, found, purchased, or something, the ability, or recipe, right? You have to have the recipe to be able to refine a certain ore. The repair one is weird because you would assume that you would be able to repair anything that you have. Maybe this solves a lot of pay-to-win issues where I own an Idris, but I don't have the blueprint to repair it. Right? That kind of thing. But, yeah, I don't know. So that one is a little bit on the fence of how it's going to work, but just assume that it is like job or recipe instead of blueprint, and because those aren't necessarily you creating something, those are you refining something or repairing something. The creation one is the one that actually matters in this conversation.
You've already got the tier 1 blueprint for a gun, and it has stats like fire rate and recoil. You'll be able to see on the crafting UI the stat range for those stat types.
Oh shit. This is ridiculous. Yeah, RNG.
And the exact value that you get when you actually make the gun will be dependent on the quality of the resources that you put in.
Yeah.
When you upgrade the blueprint to tier 2...
Back it up, I'm not. You're going to get a blueprint for a Gladius that's going to have certain stats that go up on it. So if you remember the whole, like, Avenger 1 would want to fly really fast, and he likes to fly the Arrow, let's say. A lot of pilots used to love to fly the Arrow. Or Burks wants to be really tanky, and he loves to fly. I remember Burks used to always fly the like the Vanguard or whatever. I can't remember the name of it, but you know what I think most people know what ship I'm talking about. I remember he was like the best pilot at that, right? Not the Inferno. No, this was before that. The I think Vanguard's the name of it. The Sentinel or whatever, right? He might want to be really tanky. He's going to want a blueprint that gives a bonus to armor for that ship, but he might find the blueprint that only gives the bonus to shields. And then he's like, shit, I don't want that, right? And then Avenger wants to get the one that gives the best bonus to engines and maneuvering thrusters, where he might find the one that gives the bonus to armor. And he's like, damn, I'm not trying to be tanky. I'm trying to be nimble and fast. So it becomes this RNG session where not only are you, looking to make the best ship that you can, but you're bringing in and finding blueprints from outside of people who did get lucky and don't, like, I'll give a better example. Burks and Avenger 1, who, in case you guys don't know them, they're both content creators, streamers, and YouTubers in the Star Citizen space. Burks is here now. Avenger isn't. So follow Burks if you guys are in chat. And if any mods are here, give them a shout out, please. But they're both Avenger, or excuse me, they're both Arrow pilots. But one of them wants to fly fast, and one of them wants to be a brawler and more tanky, right? But Avenger found the blueprint for the tanky one, and Burks found the blueprint for the more nimble one. They would probably both put them for sale on the market, and then they would buy each other's from not even knowing each other, right? Just assume they're two random people that don't know each other. You would go to the market and you would find what you're looking for, because it has no value to Burks, it has no value to Avenger, but the one that they're looking for has value. So that's that.
You'll get the tier.
No mods.
See the tier 2 version of the gun.
Oh,
and those
never mind. We had mods.
Will be shifted. So it'll have a higher top end and a higher low end as well. It'll be on average better.
Interesting.
But the actual number that you get is still dependent on the quality of the materials you put in.
Yeah, and the quality will get you to the top of that value.
The higher tier
Nice.
Blueprints also need you to bring more advanced materials to them. And related to that is that these blueprints have aspects, we call them. It's kind of like parts of the product, so like the barrel of a gun or the grip of the gun or something like that, which will influence different stats of the item. So if you put materials into the grip part of the gun, the quality of those materials might impact the recoil, but it's not going to impact the rate of fire. And this becomes especially interesting for the very highest tier of creation blueprints.
Now I'm confused.
Because then you'll get a choice of what materials to put into certain aspects, and based on the choice you make, it will influence different stats.
So is it RNG or is it choice? Because it can't be both. It's one or the other. Why not both? Because maybe it can. I don't know. No RNG values are controlled by quality. No. Like at the beginning, he made it sound like my blueprint gives a bonus to these things, right? But then it also sounds like even if I don't have the bonus to that thing, I can just go to the grip and add the bonus that I wanted. So They really need to show this in game at this point.
So you might be able to choose between improving the recoil or the reload speed, depending on which material you put in.
with opportunity cost.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then I guess the only other kind of blueprint that's interesting for upgrade is the upgrade blueprint itself, because research and upgrade blueprints are not quite the same thing.
Okay, this is getting convoluted.
But if you use an upgrade blueprint to increase the tier of an existing item, none of the existing stats or materials on that item matter anymore. It's just the new materials that you put in for the upgrade will affect the stats. And the important reason for this is so that whether you craft an item straight at tier 3 or craft it at tier 1 and then upgrade to tier 2 and then upgrade to tier 3, the resulting item will be the same if you use the same materials.
Okay. So the idea here is what he's saying is that you can make the base ship and then immediately go to tier 2 or immediately go to tier 4 if you wanted to. And you just have to input all the materials that you would have had to do. It is the person who goes straight to tier 3 does not skip the material cost of the person who goes all the steps. Am I understanding that correctly? Right? I think I'm understanding that correctly. And yeah, that's nice. It's the other way around. Okay. Then we listen again.
The important reason for this is so that whether you craft an item straight at tier 3 or craft it at tier 1 and then upgrade to tier 2 and then upgrade to tier 3, the resulting item will be the same if you use the same materials.
So you can skip a step if you need, if you have the blueprint and you have the
if you have the creation blueprint, you can skip, and you skip straight to whatever tier you want. The upgrade basically only exists if you already have the item and you don't want to spend all of the resources to make a whole nother copy of it. You just want to spend the smaller amount of resources necessary to turn it into the higher tier one.
And that upgrade blueprint, I assume one of the ingredients is the original item.
Yes.
Yeah, guys. Yeah. And so you were speaking, you're speaking primarily of guns and items, but this system, one would assume, is also applicable to the ship.
This is not reinventing the wheel.
Ships as well.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't
Not
think
only ships, also ship components.
Ship components.
It's like something that we really want to make sure is that we don't want you to.
Yeah, this is very much like Eve, except for this this percentage and material quality thing.
Go through the process of, because you crafted your tier 1 item, you then have to disassemble it to just craft a tier 2 item, right? So that is like nonsense. So we really want to enable players to have their item and then use the upgrade to actually still have the item, but then the better version of that.
So extrapolating this out here, if you take something like an Aurora, let's start just with a base.
If I break this down for weekend review, I don't think I'm going to have the developer speaking. I'm going to have whatever Jared says right here.
Level here.
And they say yes to.
And you have now upgraded the hull to stage 5 or tier 5, where you've now used specific materials to customize specific elements and stats of that hull. And then you've done the same with the weapons, and you've customized the weapons up to tier 5 with certain materials to benefit certain things. And you've done the same thing with the components to custom up to tier 5 to customize certain attributes. You can have an Aurora that is dramatically different than David's Aurora or Pete's Aurora.
Oh,
or something.
obviously.
It's like,
absolutely.
This is where we start to see the differential between not just individual ship models, but within the ship model itself. And when some decisions are made that affect the baseline of a ship, the one that folks can buy in Astro Armada or whatnot, and so those decisions don't happen in a vacuum. They have to be accounted for also the potential upgrade path that is coming with crafting and stuff like this. And if a ship is in a certain way where you're like, well, I'm not really a fan of it in its base configuration.
This will be impossible to balance.
Time and effort on the player's behalf, maybe you can take a ship that you weren't totally happy with and now make it to something that becomes your daily driver.
Yeah, this calls back to the heavy balancing effort that Torsten was talking about earlier. That one of the big challenges is going to be very carefully balancing all of the different possibilities that you'll have access to with crafting.
Yeah, which it will be impossible. So good luck.
Because instead of just one ship has these values for these thrusters.
Better start now and better stop making new ones. Otherwise, 1.0 is going to be real messy.
The ship hull can change, and the thrusters can change. Multiple tiers of them, quality scaling, lots of potential for variation. So, we will be paying very close attention to this.
You're just creating a whole lot of work for Rich Towler and his team, aren't you?
Yes. Sorry, guys.
He's going to bust through the wall like the Kool-Aid man here in a minute. All right, we've got a little bit more time. Let's go back to some base building here. How well will bases blend into the surrounding environment? I think longtime players can remember that the very first outposts that ever appeared in 3.0 were almost always up on stilts.
Yeah,
because they couldn't deform the terrain. How well will our stuff blend in with the terrain?
Yeah, so you'll be able to kind of, again, with the tinting, you'll be able to kind of pick certain tint palettes that work better with the biomes that they are in located.
Yeah, they already answered this.
You can also put buildings around trees and stuff. If you put the building on top of the trees, it will get rid of the trees, but with the nice precision placement mode through the construction ER mode, you'll be able to find a nice position and to kind of get some trees to maybe cover a little bit of your building as well. We'll see how that goes. Because we also have the construction drones that need to fly in and out, so we'll have to we're taking those things in account, but you'll be able to kind of blend it in pretty well if you want. And additionally, we'll have some buildings that actually will be able to kind of reduce the signature of your base as well, to kind of further kind of hide your base if you want to, or in the other way, like really make it stand out in the base in the environment. But yes, the idea is that we will have different tint palettes that fit with the different biomes that can be found on the planets.
Okay.
One would assume there has to be some level of terrain manipulation, though. Is that entirely automated by the system, or will any of that be in player control?
Chad, how long has he been reacting? Keck. So funny story is I usually see how long I've been reacting because I hit record. I forgot to hit record, so this is going to go up on YouTube much later than I was hoping it would.
Yeah, so the idea is that we don't want to fully allow
I'm going to have to rip it from Twitch.
To customize the terrain to their liking, because
or I ran out of room and it just stopped recording. I don't know.
That would take away from the value of scouting for a good location. So there will be buildings that will do a very light terrain manipulation, just to make sure that like the
react offline after. That's exactly what I'm doing tonight. I have to break this down again and edit all these ridiculous conversations into a week in review.
The staircases work and so on. But the majority, the best solution that we'll provide is the use of foundation tiles, the big slabs that people get to place down, and then on those they'll be able to kind of put their buildings down. And those will deform the terrain, so if you have a plot of land that is not particularly flat for you to build connectable buildings, then the idea is that you would put down a foundation first, and then from there on you'll be able to connect your buildings on top of there.
Or I must have like this.
We can squeeze a couple more in before we're done here. How will player trading at bases work?
All right, I suppose there's two ways to look at this. You've got your seller and the buyer. If we look at the seller,
here we go.
You've either acquired your items or you've crafted them and you want to put them up for sale. You can do that by placing them in a freight elevator, listing them on a connected terminal, or make a physical shop. And then there'll be a mobile glass app where you can say, hey, I have T3 bombs for sale. Everyone come and grab them before they're gone. And then as the buyer, you browse the advertisements on this new trading app, go to the base and purchase them. Or if there is a very particular item that you want, you can put in a buy order and you'll say, I want this item, this many of them, these stats, deliver it to this location. Obviously that'll cost more because someone has to accept that and then do the delivery.
Let's
but
go.
It means that you get a very particular item that you want.
Let's go.
Okay. So it sounds like base one of the major components of base building will be this next major step forward in player trading that folks have been waiting for. Like right now, there isn't a super easy system of I'm going to give you this and you give me, credits in return. So it sounds like most of that comes online for the first time with base building.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see actually the spread between like local shops and people who band together to make like big market bases where it's shared and hundreds of people can come and sell their stuff.
Yeah. And that's not to say that obviously we've.
Yeah, that's the interesting one. Is how does that work? That was my question. Is he's made it sound like there can be big market bases. Again, I'm sorry for his volume. It's impossible.
Band together to make like big market
base building.
Let's listen to this again.
It'll be interesting to see actually the spread between like local shops and people who band together to make like big market bases where it's shared and hundreds of people can come and sell their stuff.
Yeah,
and that's not to say that obviously we've got Mode Trader app for Mobiglass and stuff. That's not to say that this comes out before that comes out. It's just as far as I'm aware, speaking in this moment right here, there's this, and I'm not up to date on the release of additional Mode Trader apps. So I'm not saying one comes before the other. I'm just speaking with what I know. Last question.
Okay, so that there's other Mode Trader things in the works. Is what he just said. So
when the Pioneer was first introduced in 2017, it was alongside it was this idea of land claims. And for every time the Pioneers come back into the pledge store, it's come back alongside land claims. In this year's IAE, it was brought back to the store without the land claims. That's led some people to speculate that land claims are gone or they're not a part of the design anymore. I'm going to say right now, they are. Let's talk about what our current thinking is, what our current plan is, what our current intention for how land claims are supposed to work.
There's no more current, guys. There's no more current. There is what you're doing for 1.0, and there is nothing else. We can't keep doing this. You cannot get on stage and talk about 1.0 and then start doing this bullshit literally months after and go, this is what we're currently thinking about doing. Fuck out of here with that shit. I am so tired of it. I know why he's doing it, so the developers don't get shit and all that stuff. Like, he's being a good guy. This has nothing to do with Jared whatsoever, but this has everything to do with it's year 13, 14, fucking 25. It doesn't matter anymore. You said that we're releasing the game and we're releasing the game with these things. You need to know how they're going to look, and you need to explain them to us so we can watch you build them. That's it. That was the whole point of CitizenCon, and they're already undermining it.
And keep in mind that, like everything else, there's a period of time between now and when this is implemented, and we reserve the right to have any better ideas that come along. We reserve the right to look at what you've said on Reddit and Spectrum and everywhere else on YouTube comments and have that inspire better ideas. Yep.
And you've been doing that forever and not making the game.
So while these things may change, let's talk about what the current plan for implementation is for land claims.
Yeah, so there's a lot here. I'll kind of walk through just plots of land in general, and then we'll talk about how the land claim beacons fall into that. So when you go to acquire a plot of land to build on, there's a couple of choices you need to make straight off the bat. We have a general plot, which allows you to build anything, and then there are prospecting plots, which are a little bit smaller, they're cheaper, and they're more geared towards mining.
Cool.
You'll see a square layered on the terrain, and that's basically your current selected plot of land. You can grab a face.
So The land claim will be a square. It will not be a circle, as shown in CitizenCon 2023.
Make it a rectangle, make it to a bigger square, and this is you selecting the surface area that you want, and the cost scales up with the surface area. If you were to purchase a 1 by 1 kilometer and then another 1 by 1 kilometer, it would actually be more expensive because the cost will take into account the total surface area you own on the planet. Where the beacon comes in is...
All right, so the more you own, the more expensive it gets. So you can't claim an entire moon. It would just be impossibly expensive.
That you kind of skip this initial UEC cost for purchasing a plot. You just use the beacon and you have your plot of land. From then onwards, if you bought with UEC or you used a land claim beacon, there'll be a reoccurring UEC tax. And if you fail to pay that tax over a period of time, you'll begin to lose rights to your base, and eventually you'll lose complete ownership of the land, complete ownership of the building. They can be looted. Someone else can buy up that area.
If you ever played Ultima Online, and I don't know if this was in Star Wars Galaxies, if you stopped playing the moment your credit card was meant to be charged and it did not get charged, your house in Ultima Online, there was a little sign on every house. Your house in Ultima Online would go, "This property is in a state of decay." And there were people who would run around the whole game world and look at all the house signs and would look and go, and then there were different stages of the decay. So you would know about how much time it would be before that house would go down. They would mark those spots and they would go back to them over and over and over again to wait and see and try to pinpoint exactly when it's going to fall. And then when the house finally collapses, all the items in the house just fall on the ground and people are just killing each other trying to collect them. It was crazy good. It was, and there was a time where the houses never fell for about 5 years. Like there was some bug. They fixed the bug, and hundreds, if not thousands, of homes dropped all on the same day, and it was pure pandemonium. It was the most fun day I've ever had in an MMO ever.
That's, it's very important that we avoid.
It was such chaos,
like a dead base. We don't want people to be able to just go AFK either for a year, even though they stacked up.
Because when I tell you guys, it was like 5 to 10 years that these houses didn't fall. Like people that forgot what Ultima Online was.
Billions in their account.
It was wild. Old stuff, super valuable stuff.
We want to free that
sick
up for the players. In addition to that, there will be some limitations where you can buy plots of land and use beacons. We're going to have, for want of a better term, a national park, both in lawful and lawless areas, and it's a no-build zone, and this allows us to reserve land that's pristine for exploration, it's pristine for resource gathering, and so on. I think that's, oh no, there's one other thing, sorry. When you have your plot of land, there'll also be an exclusion zone around it, where no one else can buy or build, so you can't get boxed in. That is a high-level summary, I suppose, of the current plan for land claims and plots in general.
Gotcha. So let me see if I understand this to re-summarize it here. So anybody will be able to go and purchase a plot of land so long as it's available, so long as it's not in one of these no-build exclusion zones. You reference national parks. They're not literal national parks on Pyro 3 or whatever, but areas that are protected for gameplay reasons. We have to make sure that there's still plenty of areas to do missions and minables and stuff like this. So anybody will be able to buy a plot of land in one of the buildable areas. The land claims basically are your like coupon for that. It's like you can pay a brand new UEC cost to purchase that, or if you have a land claim, it's like, nope, I already prepaid. This is my prepaid voucher, and you hand that in, and you get the land claim for that. So it's open to everyone. One is just a voucher. You've already got that ready for you.
So yeah, I can set a base on day one.
After that, there is a maintenance cost. We talked about money sinks. Money sinks are essential to every video game economy that's ever existed. So there will be a recurring fee.
No, I already have 2 land claims, and they're not selling them anymore. So I get the advantage over everybody else because I paid money early. Do I deserve that advantage? I know I've read my YouTube comments. Some people feel they deserve it. I do not feel I deserve any advantage over anybody at all. And I wish we all started with an Aurora, and that's it.
If you don't log in often enough, and again, the time period will be things that adjust like everything else in Star Citizen.
What advantage am I getting? Are you one of the there's no winning in Star Citizen? The advantage that I'm getting is I can, on day one, scroll around Daymar and find the highest value copper node and immediately place a land claim on it and own that node on day one, where a player like, let's say, just yourself, and you don't have any land claims, you have to actually play the game. And by the time that you were going to go and find that specific copper node, I already found it. You lost, I won, I paid, you didn't.
If you don't log in enough to pay your stuff, eventually you'll lose control or ownership of that land, and then I assume anybody can do whatever the heck they want with your base and the stuff that you've put there. This is really good because, like you said, back on a Hazi server, I had a city on Naboo that was still there 4 years after I stopped playing. So, and then obviously, again, reiterating the limitations, not every single space on the planet will be buildable. You're probably not going to be able to put your base right up against the wall of Lorville. For instance, there's going to be exclusion zones to maintain all the other gameplay elements. But we have a lot of planets and a lot of moons with a lot of surface area, and we're making more.
PoE 2 time. Enjoy PoE 2, everybody.
Get it, Declan?
I mean, that's about right. Yeah.
Cool. Gentlemen, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be here with us. It's always a pleasure to have you on here. I knew when we were putting together this presentation for CitizenCon, you know how excited I was from the first day on. Like this is there are jokes on Spectrum and Reddit about how crafting is the answer to everything. It's not the answer to everything, but it is the next major step forward in the evolution of our game, alongside base building, where finally, for the first time, you have a true sense of ownership in the builds in the universe. So I'm really excited about both. I know a lot of our players are. So thank you for your continued work. Obviously, between now and the release, we will follow up. There will be additional ISEs, additional SCLs where we address the questions that no doubt come up after this episode. So keep them coming.
Because this isn't happening anytime soon, so it really doesn't matter.
Torsten, Jacob, Luke, and Declan, thank you so much for your time. This is our last Star Citizen Live of the year, folks, so thank you so much for tuning in. We have one more episode of ISE that airs next Thursday. It's our standard patch report episode where we're going to revisit a bunch.
They're putting out 4.0.
The stuff that are coming online with the upcoming 4.0. And then I gone fishing. We'll see you back here in 2025. So keep your eyes on the robertsspaceindustries.com website for updates on 4.0 when it moves from into the next wave of PTU and then its eventual release. And thanks for...
Why wouldn't they? Have you played it?
Watching. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for letting me do this. John, you did really well today. I can't tell the difference. Be nice to each other. We'll see you next year, everybody. Take care.
No, not wave
All right,
one.
we're out.
There you go. Well, that was a good watch. A little confusing. I have no idea how I'm going to break this down for weekend review, but I am going to try. Lots of information there. I'm just probably going to take like the 3 or 4 major things, which were blueprints are not just used forever. There's going to be some limited use ones. What else? Some of the base building stuff, land claim stuff, rounds of square now. I don't think that's actually news because the land claims have always been. No, I didn't make notes. These are all mental notes. Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch it because I have a bad memory. Oh, mining changes were big. Yeah, mining changes were big. And salvage changes. Yeah, mining changes, salvage changes. Some few things about crafting. And yeah, I mean, base building is going to be pretty open. They're going to let us do what we want. I think the other relevant thing is the idea of the selling of your stuff, sell orders, buy orders. Pretty big deal. Actually, very, very big deal. So, yeah. Really good episode. Sad it's the last one. I think there's a lot more stuff from CitizenCon I'd love to hear about. But I really hope they get 4.0 working because it's going to be a rough time until mid to end February before anything good happens.